Hello and welcome to This Week in 23 Sports. We've got a great show for you today. I'm Kayla Smith along with Jack McGrath.
We have all the Missouri sports news you need to know, from soccer to football to swim.
All this to come on This Week in 23 Sports.
Welcome to This Week in 23 Sports, your premier University of Missouri sports update show. Now your hosts, Jack McGrath and Kayla Smith.
Missouri soccer played in the SEC tournament this past week after finishing the year 3-2-2. Mizzou earned the 5 seed and a first-round bye.
On Sunday, the Tigers took on Florida, who had a single win on the year. Missouri went up 1-0 in the 17th minute on a goal by Macy Trujillo, but Florida responded quickly with a goal of their own in the 21st minute. It wasn't until the 72nd minute that Mizzou was able to break the stalemate on a goal from Bella Alessi after the ball was deflected to her on a header from Trujillo. Missouri would go on to win 2-1.
And the next matchup they faced was a little bit tougher. They faced the 10th-ranked team in the nation in South Carolina. They jumped to an early lead, a 3-0 lead in the 47th minute, but Missouri kept fighting. 14 seconds after the third South Carolina goal, Missouri responded with a goal from Bella Alessi. Again, there's her name again. That was her 4th goal in 3 matches. Then in the 60th minute, Lindsay Whitmore assisted Julissa Cisneros, who found the back of the net to bring the score to 3-2. After that, Mizzou's comeback attempt was halted, and South Carolina would go on to win 3-2, ending their SEC tournament run.
We may still have to wait a week for Missouri football, as plans are once again up in the air. Missouri is scheduled to play at South Carolina on Saturday. As of Tuesday, Missouri had 56 eligible scholarship players for Saturday's game, and SEC guidelines say that a team should have 53 eligible scholarship players for game day. Missouri could option to play with less than 53 scholarship players, but that gets a little bit dicey. And Coach Eli Drinkwitz said that the team will do everything in its power to play on Saturday, but given the current situation, they obviously have some limitations.
Yeah, and that's definitely diminishing because we did find out yesterday that junior receiver Dominic Jacinto has reportedly entered the transfer portal, bringing the team down closer to that minimum of the scholarship players of 53, and they tested again for COVID today, so we will see what we end up with.
The chances of a Mizzou football game this weekend continue to get slimmer, still on the schedule right now, as they now lose one more player this week. But Coach Drinkwitz said only positive things about Jacinto's decision. Here's what he had to say.
He felt like he wanted to find a better offensive fit and better cultural fit. Obviously, we weren't here to recruit him. We're different than what they've been used to or what they recruited to. It's all about trying to find the right fit. We wish him well and absolutely all the best to him as he's moving forward.
Like you said, Jack, this really puts Mizzou on the rocks for their scheduled game. For the Columbia rivalry this weekend against South Carolina, the Tigers have not played since Halloween when Florida rolled over them. That score was 41-17 Gators. South Carolina, however, has not skipped a beat this season. They've played their entire schedule so far.
Yeah, this could be difficult for the Missouri Tigers, having 2 weeks off and then having to play again against the South Carolina team. Especially after you get beat like that against Florida, and then now you have to wait to play your next game, but I'm sure these players are on the edge to go out and play again. Should be a fun game on Saturday if they're able to go.
Definitely. It's been super unexpected season, so I think they're probably itching to get out. Another team that has had a break is volleyball. Volleyball is a go as of today for their matches against Ole Miss this weekend. They will close out their fall campaign Friday and Saturday afternoon in Oxford after 2 weeks with no matches.
Mizzou is in a good spot right now to finish out this portion of the season. They're ranked number 8 in the nation and at 4-2. Ole Miss is ranked second to last in the SEC. They're 0-4 this year. And they should be able to Missouri should be able to close out the fall at 6-2 and sit in the top 10 nationally, assuming nothing crazy happens in these games going into the spring.
Right, and normally 2 matchless weeks would be really tough to come back from, to get your mojo back, get back in the group. But I think after that close battle against Kentucky and that one close set against Arkansas, we saw some things that the ladies could work on, and I honestly think that this is exactly what they needed. Granted, Ole Miss isn't the best team, but that's even better for Mizzou because they can work on their mechanics, their offensive systems and schemes, and get really disciplined, which I hope they have in these past 2 weeks, and tighten up on their defense.
We'll have the details on those games later in what's happening in Mizzou sports. Now, across the parking lot from the Hearn Center in Mizzou Arena, the men's and women's basketball teams are prepping to begin their seasons next week. The SEC came out with preseason honors, and to no surprise, Mizzou's Drew Smith, who played pretty well last year, earned a spot on the second-team all-conference list.
Mizzou is returning a lot of core names for the men's team like Xavier Pinson, Javon Pickett, Jeremiah Tillman, Mark Smith, and of course Drew Smith. And after a season that I would argue was pretty disappointing for them, the amount of talent that is on this team will be interesting to see how they can bounce back from that, and the season being cut short as well. We can't forget about that, especially if the team can stay healthy throughout this season.
Yeah, exactly. We saw Xavier Pinson and Jeremiah Tillman. They didn't declare for the draft. They entered the combine last year for the draft, came back to Missouri, and now they have a very legitimate chance to maybe make some noise in the SEC this year. Some things could start to gel, especially in Drew Smith's second season with the team.
Definitely. They kick off their season next Wednesday at home against Oral Roberts, and the women will begin their season next Friday. We'll bring you that men's season opener outcome and preview the women's team next week. With that, let's take you to your top plays this week.
All right, heading into play number 1, Florida versus Missouri soccer. Fancy footwork from Macy Trujillo as she finds the back of the net. A nice goal for her right there.
Number 2 this week, Missouri down by 2 goals against South Carolina. We got a long ball here from Trujillo. It lands at the feet of Cisneros, and she is able to knock it in through the defenders. Big goal there in a tight game.
And now we move on to number 1. Bella Alessi, who has been on absolute fire for Missouri, works her way through the defense and chips it over the keeper, finding the top corner. A nice goal there for Alessi. This came 14 seconds after the third South Carolina goal, so this got Missouri right back into the game.
And that's your top plays this week.
So now we saw what happened last week. So let's jump to what's happening this week in Missouri sports. All right, so starting off, we have volleyball at Ole Miss will be playing this weekend.
Those games will be at noon on Friday and Saturday and will air on SEC Network and SEC Network Plus. And then moving to Saturday, we've got football playing at South Carolina. That game will be at 6:30 p.m. on SEC Network.
And then, of course, we talked about men's basketball earlier. They go up against Oral Roberts. That game is going to happen next Wednesday, the 25th. And then last but not least, the swim invite for Mizzou. Mizzou will be playing in the Invitational as well. So a whole bunch. We didn't have a whole bunch of Missouri events last week. We have a whole bunch of Missouri events this week. So that's what's happening this week in Missouri sports.
Basketball's back.
Basketball's back.
That's
exactly.
crazy.
Yep.
I was like, oh, it's next week?
Yep, exactly.
This came up on us. I wasn't expecting that. Well, now we are. We're ready for it. Well, so we hope everybody has a great holiday week. You know, stay safe out there going home. For Jack McGrath, I'm Kaylor Smith, and this was 23 Sports.